Today we have news that Palantir has clapped back at Ross Gerber by launching a Palantir privacy and ethics Twitter page. I'm sorry if the audio is echoing. I just wanted to make this quick video to talk about what's going on here. Well, Sham Sankar retweeted. You can follow him on Twitter. You can also follow this new page with the insights into the work of Palantir Tech's privacy and civil liberties engineering team. So let's get into the Medium article they just released, explaining Palantir Part 5. There are other parts on this, such as trust in data, their business model, purpose-based access control, and data anonymization. So why is this a response to Ross Gerber? Well, basically, he came out and said that he doesn't believe, and he didn't even use his opinion, saying that it was an opinion. He just said this, he said what he said as basically a fact. But why was he wrong? Well, Palantir actually does protect privacy and uphold civil liberties because that is central to identity and mission since their founding. And they intentionally adopted a business model that allows to follow through with this commitment. They make software that enables the institutions that serve the society to use their data responsibly and effectively, and they do not trade personal data at all. That is very key. So they talk about sensitive data and protecting national security with the world's most stringent privacy laws, and they talk about achieving such a strong security record with institutions and people's data. But basically the whole point here is that they realized early on that effectively creating privacy protective technology and business practices required a dedicated focus, a significant investment, and a broad mandate. That is why they chose to create the world's first privacy and civil liberties engineering (PCL) teams more than a decade ago, which continues to be an essential part of the company's identity and work. So the bottom line here, this is nothing new. This is what they set up at the beginning of the company. It's not just an ethics team or whatever. It's a full-on engineering team. This is not new information, once again, but it's very important. Palantir is bringing that to the forefront to explain this is our founding, this is what we are based upon, and we have engineers working day and day to make sure that we uphold our privacy and civil liberties standards and ethics and morals behind those. They say that their work is unjustifiable if it does not strengthen privacy and uphold liberal democratic values. Citizens would be right to oppose it and would be undermining the very societies and convictions that we seek to defend. So they ask themselves, do I want to live in the kind of world that the technology we're building would enable? Ultimately, the goal of the PCL team is to design, build, and deploy privacy protective technologies and to foster a culture of responsibility around their developments and use. The inclusion of the term engineering is deliberate. The policy is essential, and their first obligation is always to follow policy defined by public officials. But relying on policy alone to ensure ethical practices provides limited confidence that others can or will always adopt it. Similarly, compliance teams with a purely legalistic approach may fail to anticipate new issues that technological developments present. So what is the real deal here? Well, it's Palantir's basically saying this is not a legal requirement. We didn't have to form this team to abide by laws or whatever. They're forming this team because it's in their DNA as a company, and they're engineers. They build. That is what this company does. And in order to build the future they want the world to be, we just read that quote, they had to implement this team early on. Now, what's the deal with Ross and the people that hate Palantir and think they're doing immoral things? Well, they're unaware of this team at Palantir, this team of engineers that look and check against privacy and civil liberties all along the way in technical manners as well. Engineering is a core responsibility to ensure that values are encoded into our software at a fundamental level. That's why this is important. And ensure the team is exposed to exactly the same issues as every other engineer in the company. This gives the team a nuanced understanding of frontline issues to be solution-oriented rather than being focused solely on academic theory with limited attachment to the real world. So you can go on and read the rest of this. Privacy alone isn't sufficient. They talk about so much more. I don't want to get bogged down in the weeds, but there it is. I will leave this linked in the description, and hopefully this was a quick update. Really, Palantir, there's no other reason for them to be releasing this other than a response to the criticisms that they have been facing more recently. So they've launched this new Twitter page. I recommend you go subscribe or follow, whatever you want to call it, Palantir Privacy. And that's where I'll leave it. Until next time.